So the Supreme Court ruled that no advocate can be coerced, summoned, or arrested for refusing to be part of his privileged communication with the client or accused of a crime. Gurgaon Police received flack from the Supreme Court of India. You were the lawyer appearing in the matter. Please tell us more about what the Apex Court actually said.
As president of the Supreme Court Bar Association, I somehow feel myself to be the guardian of the legal family. And I feel that responsibility that I should be taking care of this kind of problem which is happening with any lawyer in the country, so that I'm able to set an example for the country. And what better place to set an example than the Supreme Court? So if you remember, the suo moto case of summoning advocates was argued by me, where Supreme Court ultimately ruled in my favor, saying that although there is an exception for criminality, even for lawyers, and there is no complete embargo on filing cases against them, but that is an exception to the rule, where the lawyer is actually involved in committing the crime, not just because he's handling a criminal's case. That summoning order had ultimately, Supreme Court had said that you will not summon a lawyer also unless you have, as an accused, unless you have admissible evidence which shows his culpability, and he is covering under the exception to Section 132. This judgment was delivered on 31st of October 2025, and that very day, this lawyer Vikram Singh from Dwarka court was summoned to the Gurgaon Police by the STF, and he was arrested that very day. And the sequence is that they had taken another so-called accused into custody and taken some statement from him while he was in custody. And that accused had obliquely mentioned the name of the lawyer Vikram Singh. Now, this happened a year and a half back. Thereafter, using that statement, the police was pressurizing my client Vikram Singh to disclose information about his clients, the people whom he was representing, which obviously he could not because of the bar or embargo, and the police could not have compelled him to do so. So this, fortunately, he had recorded those conversations. So in those conversations, it was clear that police is asking that तुम इनके बारे में बताओ, नहीं तो फिर तुम्हारे पर बता दोगे तो तुमको हम लोग देख लेंगे. So he was obviously resisting. On this day he was arrested, and the arrest happened, without giving him the grounds of arrest, which fortunately 2 days before only Justice Gawai and Justice Augustine Massey have delivered a verdict which says that written grounds of arrest much before the remand application is placed before the court should be given to the accused who is proposed to be arrested, either at the time of before arrest or at the time of arrest, or immediately after the arrest, and that had not been done. So all these things, and seeing the fact that the transcript of the conversation between the lawyer and the police, which was asking the lawyer to disclose information about his clients, and also the fact that no grounds of arrest were given, prima facie court felt that this is definitely a case where the Supreme Court should intervene under Article 32, because the moment Supreme Court intervenes under Article 32 in such matters, then it serves as a lesson for the entire country, for the entire police force of the country. And that is what I wanted. I wanted this to be flagged in such a way that this case becomes some kind of a benchmark for the courts in the country to follow, and the prosecution to be aware that this is their right and they cannot tinker with the right of a lawyer. They have certain limitations as far as the law is concerned, and they cannot cross those boundaries. So I felt that this is a case where we should go to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court, after hearing me in the matter, was very pleased to ask for immediate release of the lawyer. Although yesterday he could not be released due to some procedural thing, I believe today he must have got released. But it's a very serious issue. It's on the impartiality of a lawyer, the independence of the legal profession. Every accused, whether he be a gangster or anybody, has a right to be defended. And if you recall, Kasab was provided legal aid by the government, and a senior advocate of the Supreme Court represented Kasab in those proceedings. So even if you don't have the capacity to engage your own lawyer, the state is obliged to provide you a lawyer. So every accused, this is something which is a statutory right of every accused. So somebody or the other will represent the accused. Merely because he is representing the accused, he should face flack at the hands of the police is, according to me, is completely, the criminal justice system is completely being, I would say, distorted in the process. And I feel that a lawyer should be given a very different status, unless if he is actually involved in crime. There is no question of my trying to support anybody who is actually involved in crime. In fact, when I go to these law schools, etc., I tell them that never be a part of either the planning a crime or giving advice as to how, if the crime is committed, will the person be not booked. I mean, this is not the job of a lawyer. The moment you get into that kind of a job, then you are crossing that limit. But if you are simply representing a client, if you are also, in this case, interestingly, the lawyer had pointed out with regard to one of the accused who was also in the custody, that he had been beaten in custody. And that accused, when he came to court on the second day, he was probably intimidated so much that he wanted to withdraw his application. But the judge didn't allow him to withdraw, and he saw the video clipping of the jail, and he saw him limping inside the jail. He said, "What nonsense is this? There's something wrong happening." All this actually unnerved the police, and they thought that if they are able to take my client into custody, they will be able to, intimidate him to divulge something with regard to these other accused, which may be helpful for the prosecution, or take some statement to further implicate some accused. So that was the whole intention, and I'm so glad that the Supreme Court intervened and rescued this lawyer, and I also hope that this will serve as a lesson for the entire country.